Hello, I'm Mr. Bob, and welcome to my Algebra 1 video series. This video covers Chapter 4, Section 3, titled Proportions and Percent Equations. By the end of this video, you will have reviewed the skills necessary to apply proportions to percent problems. To that end, you will be working with methods to find percent, to find the part value of a percent, and then the whole as it relates to percentages. You will review percent equations by working with a percent equation, and you will look at percents greater than 100 and less than 1. You will be reintroduced to using estimation, and then you'll be completing the section with a real-world problem to solve. If you'd like me to cover any of these topics in greater detail, please leave your request in the comment section below. Please subscribe to this channel if you find this video to be helpful. Thank you. Okay, objective 1, proportions and percent equations. Recall that a percent is a ratio that compares a number to 100. For example, 23% is equal to 23 divided by 100. So just remember that. Percents are always a number divided by 100. So looking at the formula, percent, n divided by 100, that's the part that you're addressing, right? N divided by 100 is equal to the part divided by the whole. And we'll talk about that in future video slides. Okay, example 1, finding the percent. What percent of 80 is 18? So you have to think of 80 is the whole, so we're start talking about whole and parts. So in this case, 80 is the whole, 18 is the part. What percent of 80 is 18? So we write the equation. We have n, we're going to solve for n. We're going to look for what is n. That's that percentage part that we're looking for. So it says, we have n divided by 100, that's our percentage, is equal to 18 over 80. So n is to 100 as 18 is to 80. So now we're going to multiply both sides by 100. N times 100 divided by 100 is n. 18 times 100 divided by 80 just stays the way it is because we're multiplying both sides by 100. And what we have, and then we did the cross multiplication, right? So we got 80n, these hundreds crossed out, and now we divide the n, or multiply the 80 on both sides. 80n is equal to 1800. Okay, so this is the bit of the cross product, where you had 100 up here and 80, 100 from, you multiply the 100 on this side, and the 80 ends up going on this side. So you have 80n equals 1800. N then is equal to 22.5. You divide and 80 into both sides and you get 22.5. So 22.5% of 80 is 18. So I'll read it again. 22.5% of 80 is 18. Okay, example 1, check your understanding. So the question here is, what percent of 40 is 30? Okay, so once you stop the video, and when you come back, we'll work this together, okay? Try it yourself. Okay, I'm assuming you've stopped the video and you've tried it, and now we're ready to move forward and work it out. So what do we have here? We have what percent, so we're looking for a percent, so it's going to be like this, an x value that we had before. So it's going to be something, I'm going to say x over 100. What percent of 40 is 30? So they want to say the whole number is the 40, and the fractional part is or the part, as they call it, is 30. So it's 30 divided by 40. So 30 divided by 40. So what percent of 40 is 30? So now we're here, what is that percentage? So now all we have to do is multiply both sides by 100, and we'll have x is equal to 30 times 100 divided by 40. Okay, and here's the 100 on the left-hand side, and we're going to multiply by 100. I could do it over here, 100 over here, and 100 over here. And that way those cancel. These hundreds cancel, and you have 40 is equal to 30 times 100 over 40, and that's 3,000 divided by 40. So x is equal to 3,000 divided by 40, and that is equal to what? That is equal to 75. And officially, so you can say this, 75% is equal to, I'll just write it this way, 30 divided by 40. Okay? Actually, I say times 100 because that'll get you the percentage. Since I sent this percentage sign here, I then added the 100 here. But the number here is 75, and 75% is what we're looking for. The x is 75 over 100. Okay? Okay, example 2, now we're finding the part. Previously, we found the percentage. Now we're finding the part. In the next slide, we'll be finding the whole. So finding the part. So you can use a proportion to find the part or the whole of a percent problem. Find 75% of 320. So we're going to write it down. 75%, so percentage is always some number over 100. So in this case, it's 75 over 100. 75 over 100 is is equal to A over 300. The 300 is the whole. Here we're finding the whole. We're not finding the whole. They've given us the whole part, the 320. Find 75% of 320, of the whole number. So the 320 here is the whole number. And in this case, A is that part that we're looking for. So when we do that, we're going to multiply or do the cross multiply. And this, so you have 320 times 75 on this side, and you have A times 320 on this side, because you have to multiply both sides by 320, and you end up with canceling those out. And once you do that, you have A is equal to 75 times 320 over 100. And when you do the math and simplify that, it's A is equal to 240, right? So that's 75 times 320 divided by 100 is equal to A. That's where this came from, right in here, right? That's how you see with the A missing there, right? So now you simplify that. In the 100, you just move the decimal places 2 times. So 320 times 75, use your calculator, and then move the decimal place 2 times, and you get 240. 75% of 320 is 240. Okay, example 2, check your understanding. Directions, find 30% of 40. So why don't you take a few minutes here, stop the video, pause the video, and work this out. When you come back, we'll work it together. Okay, I'm assuming you're back. So let's take a look at it. Find 30% of 40. So whenever you see the percentage sign again, you can always come down here and say 30 divided by 100. It's the same thing. 30% is 30 divided by 100. And it says of 40. So 30%, 30 divided by 100 is equal to something, some part of 40. Some part of 40. I'll say n this time. Okay, n is the part. 40 is the whole. Because we're looking for a part of some number. The whole number 40, we want a part of it. And what part is that? It's the n. And what is that? We take and we multiply both sides by 40. So we're going to get 30 times 40. And we're going to divide it by 100. And that equals n. Okay, so 30 times 40 is 1200. 1200 divided by 100 is equal to n. And that is equal to 12. Okay, so 12 is 30% of 40. Okay, example 3, finding the whole now. So according to the United States Geological Survey, surface water accounts for 77.6% of our country's total water supply. The surface water supply is about 265.4 billion gallons of water per day. Find the total water supply. So when it says here, find the total water, we're looking for the whole part, right? They've given us the part. The surface water is a fraction, is a percentage of all of our water. And the surface water supply right here is about 265.4 billion per day. Find the total amount per day. So if we do that, we're going to relate 77.6% of total water supply is 264.4 billion gallons per day. We're going to define W as the total water supply. And we're going to write, here's what we're going to write. 77.6%, 77.6 divided by 100, that's our percentage equation, right? So we just take the 77.6 and remove the percentage sign and divide by 100. And then that equals the part over the whole. So, because 76 is the part over the whole, 77.6 is the part of 100. That this is 100 is the whole in this case. 77.6 parts per 100, right, is equal to 264, that fractional part that's above ground, divided by the total amount that we have. We want that proportion. So when we do this, we're going to say 77.6W, because now we've cross-multiplied. With the W goes here with the 77.6, and the 100 will go up here with this 264.4. And when you do that, you're going to get 77.6W is equal to 26,240. Okay, so now W is, we're going to take the 26,440 and divide it by 77.6. And when we do that, we're going to get W being equal to 340.7. So the total water supply is about 340.7 billion gallons of water per day. So now you see that fraction. When it's all written out, it's 77.6 over 100 is equal to 264.4 divided by 340.7. That's this fraction here on the left is the same as the fraction on the right. The percentage on the left is the same as the percentage on the right. Okay, this could then be written 77.6% of, or is equal to rather, I shouldn't have said of, excuse me. Let me get rid of the of. The 70 is equal to 264.4 divided by 340.7. I'll put a little dash right there too. A couple dashes here. Let's clean that up. Bob, I usually do that. Okay, are we with it? Good. Okay, example 3, check your understanding. So let's solve this. Carlos worked 31 and a half hours at a hospital as a volunteer. This represents 87.5% of his school's requirement for community service. How many hours does his school require for community service? Well, he's currently with 31 and a half hours, he's worked 87% of his requirement. So we're going to find out what is the whole requirement, right? So why don't you go ahead and stop the video, and when you come back, we'll work it together. Okay, so now let's write this out. So Carlos worked 31 and a half hours at a hospital, right? But it says 87.5% of the total of what he needs. So I'm going to write that. I'm going to say 87.5 divided by 100 is equal to what? This is the fraction, the part, that he's worked. This is the whole amount that he has to work. He has to work 100% of his requirement. He's worked 87 and a half parts of it so far, and that is equal to 31, and those are what? 31 and a half hours divided by how many hours? I'm going to say H for hours. How many hours does he need to work? This is the whole part. Okay. So when we do this, we're going to cross multiply, and we're going to get n times, oh, I'm saying 87.5 times n is equal to 31.5 times 100, which is equal to 3150. Okay. 33,150. And so now what's the next thing we have to do? We have this 87.5 n on the left. We have to divide out 87.5. So we're going to get n, or h. I think it was h we were writing, wasn't it? H is equal to, for the hours, h is equal to 3150 divided by 87.5. And that is equal to what? That's equal to 36 hours. So the amount he's worked so far is 31 and a half hours, but he must work 36 total hours. 31 and a half divided by 36. That's that other part of the fraction right here. 36 goes right there. Okay, so continuing on, objective 1 here, proportions and percent equations. Let's take a look at this chart here, or this picture anyways, talking about the summary of what we've just learned. And we learned finding the percent, finding the part, and finding the whole. Okay, and what do we have? And under finding the percent, we have n divided by 100. We want the percent here. N divided by 100. Remember, any number percent divided by 100, right? N divided by 100, n is the percent, is equal to, say, 10 divided by 45. The part over the whole. Same here. N is the part, 100 is the whole. How about finding the part? Well, you write it this way. What is 16% of 261? So now we write 16%, 16 over 100, right here, 16 over 100, and that's equal to, well, we want, what is 16% of the whole number? When we do that, they're giving us the whole number because they want a percentage of something. So the of is the whole number. So in this case, it's 261, right? So it's W divided by 261. Now, how about the whole, finding the whole part? So now they're going to give us the part, the fractional part. What is 71%? Or excuse me, 71% of what number? Of what number is 67? So 71%, 71 over 100 is equal to 87 over what number? The whole part. 71% of some bigger number is equal to the smaller number, 87. Okay, so it's 71 over 100 is equal to 87 over V in this case. Okay. So the summary above illustrates the three cases: finding the percent, right here, finding the percent. Where is my pencil? There it is. Finding the percent, finding the part, and finding the whole. Just remember those if you can. N over 100 for the percentage. And when they say, what is the percentage? Blah, 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 blah. Then you're going to say N over 100. N. And then they give you the numbers, right? Just remember that for percentage. Okay, objective 2, percent equations. Now we'll look at some equations. You can solve a percent problem by translating the words into an equation. So let's look at how to do that. Example 4, using a percent equation. What percent of 170 is 68? So now you're going to find that percent problem, right? What percent of to the whole? Of is the whole. What percent of the whole item is 68? So 68 is some piece of the whole number, which is 170, and they want to know that percent number. So we're going to relate what percent of 70 is 68. Let K equal the decimal form of the percent. So we're going to write K times 170 is equal to 68. Okay, so when we do that, we're going to get k times 170, or 170k is equal to 68. Now we're going to divide both sides by 170, and then we're going to get k alone. And when you do that, you're going to have k is equal to 68 divided by 170. And what is k when you divide 68 by 170? You get 0.4. So therefore, k is 40%. 0.4 is 40 divided by 100, right? 40 divided by 100 is 0.4. So there, now we have it. 68 is 40% of 170. Okay, example 4, check your understanding. So this is your turn. So write and solve a percent equation for each problem, right? So what is 85% of 320? That's your first question. And what is here for B is 92 is 60% of what number? So why don't you go ahead and pause the video, and when you come back, we'll work them together, okay? Okay, I'm assuming you've done that and you've got your answers. So let's go ahead and see what we come up with. So it says here, what is 85% of 320? So we're looking for that number that's the part number. So what 85 is a part. Of means the whole of the whole part. So that means we're looking for the piece on top here, right? So we're going to say 85 divided by 100, always convert that, is equal to, I'm going to just say n for the number, divided by 320. That's the equation. That is the answer. If you take this and say 320 times 85 over 100 is equal to n. Now you just do the mathematics on this. Simplify this. 320 times 85 divided by 100 is going to be what? N is going to be equal, I'll say it this way, N is going to be equal to 272. So 272 over 320 is equal to 85%. Let's do B. 292 is 60% of what number? So now what do we have? They're giving us this. We have 60%. I can write that right now. 60 over 100 and the equal. The easy part of the equation is over with. So is this the part or the whole? So this is 292 is some part of what number? It's 60%. It is that part. 60 is the part of this fraction, right? 60 is the part of the whole. 60 over 100. So in our case here, 92 is that part. They want the whole number. So now we're going to write 292 here, and we're going to divide it by, well, we can do it again. We can say by x. Okay? So now we're going to cross multiply, and it's going to give us x, all right? We cross multiply, and we're going to get 6, and then we're going to divide out the 60 over here. So what's going to end up with well, I'll do it. I'll do the math. So it's going to be 60x, okay? The x comes up here. The x cancels here, is equal to 292 times 100. And then we're going to divide both sides by 60. These will cancel. This side by 60. And you're going to get what? You're going to get x. Here's the x. X is equal to 655, because you take 292 times 100, so it's 29,200 divided by 60, and you're going to end up with 655 as your solution. Okay, example 5. Now we're going to work with percents greater than 100 and, or we'll just say and, less than 1%, not at the same time, but it's going to be two different conditions, right? So A, what percent of 90 is 135? So 90 is the whole number, percent of a number, the whole number, and it's a larger number, right? What percent of 90 is 135? So this is percents greater than 100. Okay, so when we work this out, we're going to see that n times 90 is equal to 135. It says what percent of 90? So n times 90 is equal to 135. So then we're going to have 90n is equal to 135. Here's an n times 90. N times 90 here. 90n is 135. I've written the equation. And n is equal to 1.5 because you're going to, and that's 1.5. Well, 1.5, if you multiply times 100, so n times 100 is equal to 150. That gets us the percentage, right? So 150% of 90 is 135. So we just solved a little equation. We had n times 90 equals 135. What percent of 90 is 135? So how about the next one here? It says, what is 48 or 0.48% of 250? Okay. What is 0.48% of 250? Well, now this is a smaller percentage. So when you do this, you're going to write this as n is equal to 0.0048. The decimal point started right here, but you have to add the two zeros in front of it, right? Because you remember when we said 70 over 100, that's equal to 0.7. But if it's 0.4 over 100, it's equal to 0.004. You got to add those extra zeros in there, right? So now, what is 48% of 250? So n times 0.0048 is 250, is equal to 250, or times 250. 48% of that number is some number. N is that number. And when you take care of when you simplify this and you take 0.0048 times 250, you end up with n being equal to 1.2. And that's just a number. N, and if you're going to look at the fraction, I'll write it here, it would be 1.2 divided by 250. That's equal to, okay, that's equal to 0.0048. And if you convert this to a percentage, is equal to 0.48%. Okay? Example 5. Check your understanding. Find each number or percent. So there's 4 problems here. You should go ahead and stop or pause the video and work them out. And when you come back, then we'll work them together. Okay? Okay. Okay, I'm assuming you've now had time to work these out. So let's go ahead and take a look at how to solve them. So problem A, 105 is 125% of some number. So the some number is the whole number, right? 105 is what is a percent is some percentage of what we call the whole item, right? But since it's 125%, that means it's greater than the whole number. It's not 100%. If 105 was 100% of the whole number, 105 would be the whole number. It's 100% of it. But actually 105 is more than the whole number. Okay? So the whole number is smaller than 105. So let's write the equation. It's 105 is to the whole number as 125 is to 100. Remember, so this time the number 125 is larger than the 100. So now we're going to cross multiply. So the x will come up here with the 100 with the 125 and the 100 times the 105 over here, and then you're going to divide back by the 125. So you're going to get, when you look at this, when you multiply the 100 on one side and the x on the other side, you're going to get 105 times 100 is equal to 125x. That's where you multiplied this way. Now you have, on this side, you have one thing left to do. You have 125 times x. You have to undo the 125 multiplication on x. And you do that by dividing now both sides by 125. And when you do that, you're going to get 10,500 divided by 125. And that equals x. And x then therefore equals 64. So in our case here, 105 is 125% of the number, the 64, which we're considered it's like putting your money in the bank and getting interest, right? You put in $84 and you're getting out $105. So it's bigger, right? And what does that? It means you gained 125% kind of a thing, right? It's 125% of what you started with. Pretty good. Okay, let's do the next problem. What percent of 320 is 1.6? What percent? So now they're looking for something over 100. That percentage over 100 is equal to, it says percent of 320. So of the 320 means 320 is the large number. And 106 is obviously smaller than 320. So if we write the problem out, though, we're going to see that it's the percent that we're looking, what percent is x over 100, because we're looking for the percent this time. So you can start with whatever number it is you're looking for over 100 is equal to 1.6 over 320. Okay, and when you do this, you're going to multiply both sides by 100. Okay, and you're going to multiply both sides by 320 eventually. Well, you don't have to even do that, excuse me. Since x is on the top, you don't have to do that. You're going to multiply by 100 and you're done, because the 320 is going to stay on the right hand side. So x equals 1.6 times 100, or 160, and that's divided by 320. And 160 divided by 320 is 0.5, because 160 is 1/2 of 320. So there it is. X is equal to 0.5%. Okay, 0.5 is 5%. Okay, so no, not 5%. Excuse me. It's 0.5%. I'm sorry. 0.5%. Okay. Next C. 640 is what percent of 32? So they're giving us it's 640 is a percentage. Is what percent of 32? Well, 32 is the base number, because remember, the of some number, that's the base number. The whole, what we consider the whole number. 640 is the part number. That's of the 240, of the 32. And they want to know what percent is 640 of 32. Well, we're going to write it. X over 100 is equal to 640 over 32. X over 100, because we're trying to find the percent of 640 over 32. 32 is that base, or the whole number. When you do that, you're going to multiply both sides by 100, and you're going to get x equals 2,000%. Okay, 2,000%. Let's do the D. 0.13% of what number is 3,900? So 13%, or the 0.13% of some number, of a whole number, is this fractional number. This fractional number here is this one. So what 13% of some number is this. And when we do that, 13% of 100, 0.13% of 100 is equal to 3,900 over the whole number. Okay, because they want to know what number, of what number. That's 39 is a part of something. It's a part of a whole number. And when you multiply both sides by 100, you're going to get, and multiply x, okay? By doing your cross multiplication, you're going to get 1.13x is equal to 39 times 100. Okay, well, that's 390,000. 390,000. Now you got to divide the 0.13 x, okay, you got to divide that by 0.13 to get rid of the 0.13 that you have on the left-hand side. And when you do that, you get x is equal to 390,000 divided by 0.13. And when you do the math on that, your number ends up being 3 million. So 390,000 divided by 0.13 is 3 million. Okay, objective 2, it's a second slide for our objective 2 under percent equations. So they want us to look at this chart here to get us familiar with some fractions and percents. But it says you can estimate some percents using fractions. You can use estimation to help check your calculations or in using mental math in real-world situations. For example, if you want to find 26.1% of a number, you could multiply a quarter times that number to estimate the answer, because 26.1 is pretty close to 25, right? Pretty close to 25%. The table below gives the fraction equivalents of percents that you should probably know. You probably already do, but let's go over them anyways. And if you don't know them, just read it a couple times. It's surprisingly fast to learn these things. But how about 5%? 5% is 1/20th. You know that a nickel goes into a dollar 20 times, right? 5% is 1/20th. 10%, a dime is 1/10, right? 10% is 1/10. A dime is a tenth of a dollar. 20%. 20% is 1/5. There are 5 20s in 100. So 20% is 1/5. 25%, there's 4 quarters in a dollar. 4 quarters in a dollar. 25% is 1/4. How about 33.3% is 1/3? And that shows the line over the top here, because that 0.3 goes on forever. You know what that means. 33.3 forever is 1/3. 40% is 2/5. 40, if 20% is 1/5, 40% is 2/5. 50% is 1/2, and we all know that at 50 cents is a half a dollar. 60% is 3/5. So it's 1, 2, 1 for the 20, 2 for the 40, 3 for the 60. Guess what? It's going to be 4 for the 80, right down here, 4/5, right? And 100 over 100 is 100, right? It's 10/5, or 5/5 is 100, excuse me. So let's go on. We got a half. We got 3/5 is 60%. 66.66666 forever. Same as the 33.333 forever. 33 is a third. 66.6% is 2/3. 75% is 3/4. 80% is 4/5. 90% is 9/10. And like I said before, 100% is 10/10. 5/5, 4/4, whatever one you want to use. Okay? Look at this again. If you don't, I know I went over it a little fast, but read it a couple times over. You know most of them. Pick out the ones you don't quickly recall, and think about those. Okay, example 6, using estimation. So let's estimate the number that is 32% of 241. So we're going to be kind of like estimating of adjusting both of these numbers. So we want to get something that are numbers that are compatible, easy to divide, right? So let's see what we come up with. 32% is very close, or it's approximate 1/3. 33, a third percent, is exactly the third, but 32 is pretty close. So 1/3 is a good approximation for 32%. So we're going to use 1/3 for the 32%. And 241 is almost equal to 240. And 240, the thing that's nice about 240 is 240 and 3 are compatible numbers, right? 240, 33 divides into 240 evenly. And so when you do the first rounding, you always try to estimate the second number so that it has even fit for the first number. So you don't want to estimate it to some other number that's going to give you a fraction. So you want to be able to do this in your head, right? So now we end up with 1/3 of 240. And what is 1/3 of 240? Divide 240 by 3. And what do you get? You get 80. So 80 is approximately 32% of 241. And that's what you're trying to do, is you're estimating. You're not trying to look for exact numbers. If you're in the grocery store, you want to know how much, approximately how much you're going to be walking out with, not to the penny, unless you're really, really, really tight, but that could happen. But we'll assume that that's not why. Okay, example 6, check your understanding. And like you know what I want you to do by now. Stop or pause the video and work these problems out. Get a piece of paper and pencil. I know you've got the paper right there. And see what we come up with some answers, right? And come on back and we'll work them together. Okay, I'm glad you stopped. I know you paused because I know you're all trying to learn this mathematics, and I can tell you from my own history and my own experience that you need to work the problems. Mathematics isn't something you can just watch it one time and say, "Oh, I understand." You might understand it when you're seeing it, but it's like another language. You have to practice it to make it work for you. So just please stick to it and work your numbers. So let's look at problem A here. Use fractions to estimate each answer. So it says 49% of 280 is what number? Well, what can we do to do some estimating here? Can we say that 49% is equal to 50%? We sure can. That's pretty darn close, isn't it? It's a nice estimate. If you had this to do, you say 50% of 280 is what? 50% of 280 is 140, right? So mathematically, what would we do? We'd say 50 divided by 100 is equal to, or times, excuse me, times, erase that, times 280 is equal to what? And when you do that, you divide 50 times 280 divided by 100, and you're going to end up with 140. Okay, how about B? What is 65% of 334? Well, for 65%, that's very close to 66%, right? 66.6%, which is equal to, oh, what happened here? All of a sudden, my pencil wasn't writing. Let me back up a little. Let me erase some of this. What the heck is going on? I'll straighten this out again too. So going back onto this, 65% is equal to 66.6 forever percent, which is equal to 2/3, right? So we have 66.6% is 2/3, and we're going to round or change 330 into something that fits easily with 2/3, which we're going to make 334, and we're going to make that approximately equal to 333. Okay, when we do that now, we want to say that 2/3 of 333 is equal to what? And that's equal to 222, right? Because you divide 3 into here, and you get 3 goes into here 111 times, and 2 times 111 is 222. Let's do this one here. 74%, 74.2% is very close to 75%. And 44 doesn't have to be touched at all because it's 11, 22, 33, and 44. So 75 divided by 100 times 44, and that's going to be equal to 33. 4,400 divided by 75 is 33. And lastly, we're going to just, in our heads, how you want to do these, you can just say, oh, 11 is very close to 10%. And 2 or 521, I mean, you can even just make it 520 because 10, 520, right? That's a multiple of 10. And then we can say 521 is approximately equal to 520. And now when we take 520 and divide it by 10, it equals 52. There's that one. They're all pretty straightforward when you do that, because you can do the fraction in your head and you say, oh, yeah, a third of something, 2 times 2, or whatever. Example 7, it's a real world problem. In 1997, the total production of milk in the United States was 156 billion pounds. The Midwestern states of Michigan, Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Illinois produced 25.2% of this total. Estimate the amount of milk produced in these 5 states. Okay, so we know 25.2% is what was produced by the 5 states, Michigan through Illinois. Okay, so what do we want? What is 25.2% of 156? Total production is 156 billion. Michigan, Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Illinois produce 25.2% of that total. Estimate the amount of milk produced. So what, N, we'll let what be N, the number, okay, is 25% of 156. They want to know what piece do the 5 states produce. So a percentage of the total number, and that percentage is 25.2% of the total number, okay, is N, is that number that's going to be produced by Michigan and Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Illinois. And we're going to say 1/4 is the estimate because it's 25.2. That's very close to 25% is 1/4. So that's going to be very close. And we can leave the 256 there, or we could kick it up to 160. We'll see how this turns out. So if we leave it here, we're going to say N then is 1/4 of 156. Well, that equals 39, because you take 56 and divide times 1/4 is 39. So N is 39, what? 39 billion pounds of milk. Now, an easier one, because on 39 is pretty hard to do, you could have certainly done 160. If you had 160, 1/4 of 160 would have been 40, N would have been 40. And that's pretty darn close, too. It could have been 40 billion. Okay? These are estimates. So there's not an exact number unless you're told you have to do something specific, but closeness is what you're looking for in an estimate. Okay, example 7. Check your understanding. A store advertises sneakers on sale for 33% off. 33% off of the original price. The original price of the sneakers is $56. Estimate the amount the sneakers have been marked down. How much did they mark them down? That's the off piece, right? And then estimate the sale price. So why don't you go ahead and pause the video, try it. When you come back, we'll work it. Okay, so let's take a look at this. We have 33% is very close to 33 1/3, right? So I'm just going to say that 33% is approximately equal to 1/3. And since we're dealing with a third here, the other number that we have to deal with is 56. Well, the 56, you can't divide it by 3, but you can divide 54 by 3. Okay, so I'm going to say 56 is approximately equal to 54. So when I do this now, I'm going to say 1/3 times 54 is equal to 18. 18 times 3 is 54. So now this is the 1/3 off. So the off part is right here is $18. Okay. So now that we have $18 off, what is the actual price? Well, the actual price being an estimate here, right? Because we've got the $18 based on the estimated $54. But we can still say that 56 was the original price, and we're going to subtract 18, and we're going to end up with $38 is going to be approximately the price. Okay. Or if you went the other way, it's the same thing. You could have said, oh, that what's left is 66.6 forever percent, or 2/3, and 2/3, we still could use the 54. And so doing that, you would have still ended up with the number of $38 as the sale price. Okay.